My first call out of seminary was to First Covenant Church in Jamestown, New York, to be the associate pastor there. My wife, Kathy, and I moved there and got all settled, and then they had our first Sunday when I was installed and welcomed. I don't remember much of anything from that first Sunday. I'm sure they did a really good job. What I do remember very vividly was the next day, Monday, the first Monday at the job. I got up and I got to the office quite close to the time that Earl Dahlstrom had told us that ministers are supposed to arrive at the office. Obviously, I was there way before anybody else was. I sat down at my new empty desk and I kind of looked around a little. And then I thought, just what is it that I'm supposed to do? Years for this day, and I think even with the weather, it's a day we're going to look back on, and it's a day we're going to have some good remembrance. Ready? Praise the Lord!
The thing that I find really exciting about Bethany Covenant today in 2013 is that the incredible passion and giftedness of this couple, Dwight and Kathy, the things that God planted in their hearts have in many ways come to fruition through a couple of ministries that took place after they left. One being Children of the Valley. It's a after-school program for poor children in our community, which is primarily Hispanic, and I know that that was something that they really wanted to see happen, an outreach to poor people and an outreach to the Hispanic community.
We have a striking centerpiece there with a large cross hanging over the stage. But very often the place was bare. You know, there'd be a Christmas tree and some wreaths at Christmas. But by thinking together with some of our artistically inclined members, like Neil Murray, a professor of art at North Park University, and by making banners and thinking about how some people worship best when they are able to respond to the visual, the same way that other people respond well to music, and still others respond to the reading of the word. We were able to engage more and more people more and more deeply in the act of worship on Sunday mornings and whenever we gathered in the sanctuary.
I didn't bring any water for you? Well, okay, I should have done that. And it was hot. Yeah. And it was a long walk. Well, it was a long walk yesterday, yeah. And it was all uphill. Oh, boy. That's a lot of complaining.
That was so great. Every Wednesday night we had a character, which the character lasted for a year. And once we did a cowboy theme where I was CJ and he was my sidekick. Another year we did Captain Whitecap and Pepe the Parrot. I think my favorite though was Dr. Knowit, and he was Professor Pruvit. Well, they loved kids, you could tell, and kids loved them. I think Dwight, especially for his height, he was kind of ominous to kids. They were looking up at him, and he still would get down to their level and be funny and cause them to laugh and be real free with themselves. And Kathy just had just a love for kids and a real ability to work with kids. You know, she knew what made kids tick, and she was musical, and it was just very enjoyable.
Kathy Nelson is an amazing woman of faith and also an amazing pastor's wife. But the thing that makes Kathy so unique is that she is her own person. She never overshadowed her husband, but she was a woman that was very hardworking and had a lot of gifts to share. Quiet in a lot of ways, but very important in the life of Bethany Covenant. When she left Bethany Covenant, it took about 5 people to replace her in all the ways that she served. You take music, teaching, mentoring, and you take the hospitality in the kitchen.
An account when I was superintendent, I got a call one day asking me if I would come to Mount Vernon to celebrate Dwight's 13th year in ministry. And I said to the chair of the church, whoever it was called me, I said, why are you celebrating 13 years? And the response was, we're afraid he might leave. We want to let him know how much we care about him and how much we want him here.
Although Lake County, Illinois is the wealthiest county per capita in the state, the church is located less than a dozen miles from some of the poorest pockets, not just in the county, but in the state. And there was an opportunity for us to reach out through a food pantry, through public action to deliver shelter, through engagement in ministries to those less fortunate than we, with furniture or with something as simple as knives and forks in a home starter kit. And Dwight and Kathy really, both through their example of involvement and through their encouragement, pushed us to do that and to work to make a difference. We'd always done outreach, but it hadn't been such a whole church effort or so clearly focused or so tied to what it really means to be a Christian and a member of a church like this.
I went with Dwight and Kathy to 2 different places in Mexico for missions trips. We went to Oaxaca and we also went to Monterrey, and they were 2 different types of mission trips. Oaxaca is more of a poor country in general, and Monterrey is more big city type. But I just felt like Dwight prepared us really well for where we were going and why things were the way they were, and it really broadened my understanding of poverty, broadened my understanding of other cultures, and I just appreciate how much he prepared us, because I think it came from his heart. His heart was for the least of these, and he shared that with others.
I'm Greg Meesmore, and I am the lead pastor at Edgebrook Covenant Church in Chicago. Been here for 19 years and have known Dwight for 15 of those years. Dwight and I were part of a small group of Covenant pastors. There were either 3 or 4 of us together, and we met at least once a month for a time just to pray and to share our lives and share our joys as well as our struggles in ministry. And I knew early on when I met Dwight that he was someone that I could trust, that he was someone that would listen well to my concerns and would share in the joy I was having in being a pastor. I could tell Dwight knew about the joy of ministry and what it meant to be a pastor, and what grace we experience in that role, and it was someone that understood when I had something really great to share about that. He would listen well when I would bring a struggle. A lot of times I didn't have quite the words. I didn't know how to put into words some of the things I was feeling, some of the things I was struggling with. And Dwight would listen, and then at just the right time, he would have a kind of a timely word or some other further question to help me understand better what it was I was struggling with. And then he would always offer words of wisdom, not necessarily the total answer, but just something assuring from God's Word and from his own experience.
A denomination needs people, pastors, to fill positions of leadership. The Board of Ordered Ministry is one. That job demands a person of maturity, a person who understands the stresses of ministry, a person who has that kind of maturity. So Dwight served as chair of that board, and I remember sitting in some pretty difficult situations and watching Dwight and how the maturity of ministry was evident, and the firmness and compassion. I remember thinking one time Dwight would have made a really good judge because he's fair and he cares about giving a fair verdict or make sure people are treated with fairness, and yet he's strong. And there are some of us that were in some of those meetings that still kind of laugh about the gentle, calm, but firm way Dwight handled some pretty sticky situations.
Dwight and Kathy's legacy here at Bethany Covenant really was about being a godly couple and serving the Lord in a way where they were very faithful, honoring the Word of God, and also loving people just right where they were, right where
Okay.
they're at.
What it means to be covenant is communicated every Sunday morning and in between by our pastors. And so here's a pastor helping other pastors to understand what that means. And when there are difficult patches, as there often are, someone thoughtful, intelligent, caring, and with a deep background who can help steer the conversations and steer the people in the direction of perpetuating all that's important about being covenant.
Dwight's one of my favorite preachers, and I don't mean that I've heard him a number of times, but I've heard him a few times, and it's always good and it's always solid, and you always know he's done his work. And you know, he doesn't use gimmicks. He doesn't get caught up in you know, it's very serious, and it's very profound, and it does contain humor because he has a really incredible sense of humor. He can tell a joke without even smiling, let alone laughing at his own joke. It's very, very effective. Now, I have to say, I'm surprised because he went to Yale, not North Park, that he's as good as he is. I don't know the details. I assume he tried to get into North Park and couldn't, and he had to settle for Yale. But I'm impressed with the depth.
I sing with joy and gladness, my soul has found release. Now free from sin and sadness, with God I live in peace. His everlasting mercy to me has been revealed. His truth in my heart has been sealed. My former resolutions to lead a better life were only vain illusions. My soul was still at strife. Now on the love of Jesus completely I rely. For me he was willing to die. When thoughts of guilt oppress me and I through weakness fail, the Savior yet will bless me. His mercy does prevail. Forgiveness for the sinner His loving heart provides. His faithfulness ever abides. The evil adversary may in his fury smite. I fear not, for I carry God's armor in the fight. The word divine and mighty shall victory obtain. Its strength shall forever remain. Now marching on courageous with joy I see my goal. The blessing of the ages, the haven of my soul. And on the pilgrim journey my voice and song I raise, my God and my Savior to praise.
Having no idea what I was supposed to do, I took up, somebody had give me the Anchor Bible Commentary on Ephesians by Marcus Bard. I took it off the shelf and began to read it. That's how I started out. Well, soon enough, I fell into the hole of being overly busy, or thinking I was. But that question has never left me. It seems actually even more significant now than it did that first day. What is it that I'm supposed to do? The church has given me a number of suggestions over the years. First, it was to say, You were to be the equipper of the leaders. And then it was to say you were a therapist without fee. And then a theologian in residence. And more lately, a politician. Or a rancher. Or a Christian communicator. And now a visionary leader. It's kind of the word. I found none of those to be very helpful to me in my question. What is it that I'm supposed to do? When Jesus considered that question, he looked at what the Father did, and then he joined him.
Wow, welcome to You Bet Your Life. Say the secret word, win $100. Okay, George, there comes the duck. What's the secret word for tonight? Okay. Goodbye, duck. George, who are our first guests tonight?
Our first guests are Honest John Johnson and Frida Franca. Folks, come in and meet Groucho Marx.
Welcome, folks. Say the secret word and you'll win $100. It's now tell me, Frida. Would you go for a ride with me in that orange Matador?
No, Groucho, I am married.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. We could have made such sweet music in that Matador. Tell me, Frida, what does your husband do?
Oh, he's a minister.
A minister? How did someone as lovely as you end up marrying a preacher?